Hi, Andrew from SACS, and welcome to video number 3 in our 11 video sequence on cognitive ability or personal intelligence. And this one is about where does cognitive ability come from. You'll see that later on we talk about the impacts of cognitive ability on a range of different aspects of life. And finally, we talk about how to apply the concept of cognitive ability in the workplace. But in this one, we'll be talking about where it comes from. We now know more than ever about the neurological causes of cognitive ability within module and between module brain communication. And this combination leads to a bunch of really important characteristics. So within module communication is where certain parts of the brain that are dedicated to certain purposes. So for instance, around about here on me is the speech center of my brain. And if I'm smart, that speech center is better able to communicate within itself, in effect making use of the neurological resources within that module. But as well as that, between module communication seems to be very important. Between module communication is how my speech center can communicate with my prefrontal cortex, which is all about planning. Now, if those two things communicate well, then I'm able to explain abstract ideas well. You'll form your own opinion as to whether I can do that or not. But within module and between module communication certainly explains a lot of what in psychology we sometimes call executive function. Executive function is the degree to which various parts of the brain can work together. And when it all works effectively together, you get a person who's not just smart in a subject sense, but can actually get stuff done. But where does this come from? Well, we now know that a big part of how smart people are is genetic. And Robert Plomin, one of the most famous researchers in this world, discovered that if you measure the cognitive ability of identical twins at, say, 6 years of age, you'll get a correlation of about 20% overlap between their cognitive ability. And that's much higher than non-identical twins. But when you look at older people, like 60 or 70 years of age and identical twins, then the overlap gradually over the course of life increases to about 80%. Isn't that fascinating? The genes assert themselves as people age, and so they become more similar. By the way, this also applies even if they've never met each other, if they're separated at birth. So we know that there's a strong genetic component. Now, you see the luck component here. The reason that we say this is that there is a lot of genetic noise that takes place when genes are formed. And the idea of genetic noise is really to explain why, for instance, you have two identical twins and they both have a potential genetic predisposition by virtue of their heritability for, let's say, schizophrenia. We know that schizophrenia is strongly genetically influenced. Yet this one has a life free from trouble. This one hallucinates. Why? What's the difference? Well, it may be luck. When the genes form, they don't form with total reliability. So you can be unlucky. The same goes for, let's say, resilience. Why is one identical twin highly resilient and the other not so? Well, it could be a matter of luck. And then, of course, we have nurture. So nurture is all about skills, experience, knowledge, qualifications. This term, by the way, nature-nurture, was invented by Francis Galton in the late 1800s, the nephew of Charles Darwin. And so you see that how people turn out in their life is a combination of nature, which includes luck in genetic formulation, and then nurture, how people are skilled, developed, and guided to increase their capability. In the next video, we'll be talking about well-being and cognitive ability. To what degree is people's well-being affected by their cognitive ability? Well, to a great degree. Join us if you're interested in this topic by clicking on the link near this video.